Can poetry help you reflect on life, on the meaning of life? In my view, it can, and especially existential poetry or a type of philosophical poetry that can really help you reflect about everything, about nothing or something in between. And in this video, I'm going to talk about a, a poem which is from Armenian literature of 20th century. One of my most favorite authors, Hamo Sahyan. In one of the previous videos, I talked about Yerishe Charen's poem of Yerishe Charen's, and again, another Armenian poet today. But before continuing, I would like to highlight a bit my preference for literature. Overall, I value all most types of literature. For example, English literature, American literature, world literature overall, German, etc., Hispanic literature, and of course, my native cultural Armenian literature. And what refers to the poetry of Hamo Sahyan, he is one of the most prominent names in Armenian literature, and his works have accompanied me. I could say throughout my whole life, and in different periods of my life, I wrote. I've read his works, and each time, each reading brought me a new type of interpretation. For today's episode, for today's video, I will reflect on not fully, but I will present some lines from the poem. We knew each other. It's called that way. It's the poet, the lyrical hero, like talking to nature. That other character is the nature itself. Nature is characterized, personalized here. Personification, the stylistic device called personification is used here. And while Armenian is more poetic, more emotional language in terms of poetry, and it's impossible to fully capture its beauty in another language, no matter it's English, Spanish, or some or another, because the native perception, how the writer thought and wrote in the language, it's a different kind of experience. And as a native Armenian speaker, I experienced that like a first-hand experience. Um, the linguistic nuances that the poet thought when writing. But anyway, as another Armenian poet who we call the poet of all Armenians, Hovhannes Tumanyan, as he said, translation is a rose under the glass. It's like he wanted to highlight that translation is something artificial. It's not the natural rose like in the garden. It's something artificial and cannot smell. Its scent is not the same and beauty as the natural rose in the garden, for example. But anyway, it's an opportunity. Translation is also a bridge for cultures, for nations, civilizations to be bridged in a collective consciousness, collective understanding of culture, literary works, and aesthetic values such as poetry. Returning to the main poem, which is called "We Knew Each Other," Hamo Sahyan's poem. Let's start with a few lines from the beginning. I won't present the whole poem, but some passages of that translated version into English in my own words. He says, we knew each other. He means he and the nature, the little tree in their backyard. We knew each other. We turned green with each other. He means he and himself and the little tree went turned into green like the symbol of awakening with each other. Like he was part of nature, nature was part of him. And in these sentences, in these lines, we can first of all highlight the personification. How can a person, human, can recognize, can acknowledge nature, but how can the little tree acknowledge the poet? That's another thing. But nature has its own language. Nature has its own um, connection to human beings, to the world overall. And why he doesn't write a tree, but the little tree? Because he wants to symbolize childhood, and the little tree is a great symbol for that. Then he continues, another symbol from nature, and he continues. We knew each other, we flew with each other, me and the wave of our river. Our here may mean the river of their backyard, or it can mean also the river of all humanity. It's a motive, common motive in all literature, Armenian, which is also influenced by European literature and vice versa sometimes. So he means in their backyard, literally, like a river nearby their home. And also he can mean all humanity, the river, which may symbolize time. Let's delve deeper into this, the symbol of river. River in some mythic literature, and not only, symbolizes time and even timelessness, but mostly the flow of life, the flow, because time is life, life is time. So, and as the very well-known proverb says, you won't enter into the same river twice. So it's about non-repetitive nature of life, and the river Hamo Sahyan is referring to is not only about literal river of his childhood, but the childhood itself that that was flowing and going away as the river. And here, on the one hand, as the proverb I said, means non-repetitive nature of life, then something cannot be repeated. You can't enter into the same river twice. But here comes the contradictory, contrasting thought, like when we say his story is repetitive, or when we say like the myth of Sisyphus. It's all about repetition. It's all about human existence to be repeated. What are you doing every morning? What are you doing every evening? The same things, right? Varying situation. Yes, of course, a different, for example, your professional situation, your academic situation, financial, psychological, etc. But most things are the same. Most things are like the frame in which all human beings are living, like a shared reality, like a shared history, like a shared memory and imagination, like a shared dream, and also like sometimes like a shared boredom when it comes to that, because human existence is not always inspiring, or so it varies, and it is depicted as boredom in Sisyphus, the myth of Sisyphus, as repetition, as I said. As a reminder, the myth of Sisyphus refers to the idea that you are uh, rolling up the hill, the stone, the stone of your cares, the stone of suffering, the stone of useless suffering. But on the other hand, as Nietzsche said, we should imagine Sisyphus as happy, trying to find meaning in that meaninglessness, in that senseless repetition. It's a discussion for another thing. I don't want to go quite far from the poem's context. But anyway, even if life is repetition, It's a differentiated repetition because each day is different. The frame is the same, the structure, composition is the same, but the content of day, everything is different. So it's a differentiated repetition. And coming back to the poem, then he continues. We knew each other. Now he talks about the storm. We knew each other. We were blowing. We were blowing with each other. The storm of our valley and me. A valley symbolizes depth, maybe depth of the soul, depth of hopes, or maybe even depth of loss. It depends on the context. So he's in dialogue with nature. He's speaking he's talking to nature. That's really profound in his poetry. And it's all depicted as childhood that has gone, but also it's the shared reality for all human beings, all history. And we sense he's missing, how he misses his childhood, his unawareness. As Antoine de Saint-Exupéry said, we all come from childhood, and this thought from The Little Prince highlights our unawareness. As also I mentioned in the poem of Yagisha Charen's Milky Way Travelers, when he talks about childhood as home, as an unawareness, as the happiness of unawareness. So I would like to highlight another thing regarding repetition, because Hamo Sahyan starts with like mentioning river, and if we see the river as both flowing of time, as both as a repetition and non-repetition. Another Armenian poet, Vahan Terian, has a poem, again, classic poem, about repetition. Maybe this is the Sisyphean repetition, maybe not, but it is a few lines of that. It says, turn around, turn around. It's called Carousel, and it says, turn around, carousel. I've heard your song before. So it's all about the repetition, Sisyphean repetition, that causes boredom and sometimes may cure boredom, depending what is in the frame, not the composition, but between in front of inside that composition, what you can find. So then the poet continues his dialogue with nature and talks about his age, his years, and age is not just biological but psychological as well. And age, he mentions his tired age. How can one's age be tired? So again, even his years are personified here. And age may be tired in terms of cares, in terms of challenges that have been overcome, etc. But as John Lennon said, don't count your age by years, but smiles and things that like he means things that made your life colorful. Those kind of things that made you smile should count your years rather than only numbers. So he talks about his age, his years, his uh, lifetime, how he lived, how he doesn't literally mean struggled, but we understand it. So it's an existential poetry coming from childhood, going toward childhood, but then including the broader horizon of the future. And then he continues his dialogue with nature, humanizing it and finding nature within himself, telling that he knows, he knew. So that little tree is no longer there. That river is no longer there. And he recognizes himself both as turning green, as awakening. He acknowledges himself, the lyrical hero in the poem, as a wave of the river. And who are we? Yes, each person maybe is one wave in the river of time, and the river of time may join the sea of eternity, the ocean of eternity, depending on how you navigate life, how you form your journey, or maybe how your journey will be influenced by circumstances. I would like to highlight an important thing in the poem. Nature is humanized and human is naturalized. So nature is given human characteristics, like the little tree can acknowledge him, can recognize him, the literary hero, and like the storm can recognize him. So the river, the wave of river of the river can recognize him, giving humanistic characteristics to nature. So nature is humanized and human is naturalized, so to speak, because human is reflected in nature. But which of these is more challenging, which of these means something more elevated? In terms of nature, nature is eternal. So it's a type of, so to speak, ecological humility when nature is reflected in human, when nature is humanized. But when human is naturalized, when human is found in nature, the temporary beings, human beings, become part of eternity. So in human case, it is existential elevation, while in nature's case, it's ecological humility. So humans are elevated through this poem. So to sum up, this poem, We Knew Each Other, is about the literary character finding himself in nature, in the little tree, in the river, in the storm, everything. And that's a quite profound poem to reflect about our own existence, to reflect about nature in us, and we in reflecting in nature. If you have any thoughts about this, you can share your thoughts in the comments, and you may also subscribe to my channel to follow future videos regarding literature, philosophy, and something in between. Thank you for watching.